Shock documents unveil CIA scheme to manipulate UK intelligence agency MI5 during Iran's Shah coup, which was back in all the way
So,
back to 1953.
wow.
All the way back to 1953. For years, the sinister role of the CIA had in overthrowing the democratically elected prime minister of Iran was hidden until a 2013 trove of classified documents was released.
By Snowden.
Are we the bad guys?
I think we are.
I'm starting to think more and more that we might be the bad guys.
I think we're the baddies.
Hans, are we the baddies?
Yeah,
it's really bothering me because more and more of this stuff shows up, and the CIA and the State Department, at the very least, are some of the most evil motherfuckers to ever have existed. And it's just baffling to me that this is going on. It's like, what the actual fuck is going on?
Like, for instance, I believe it was the CIA who actually released a fog in the 50s over, I think it was San Francisco.
Yeah.
That had all kinds of pathogens in it because they just wanted to see what it would do. Like,
and they infected a whole town with syphilis. They infected a whole town with syphilis too.
Yeah, and the Tuskegee guys got that as well.
Yep. And they dosed another town's water with LSD.
Seems like a plan.
Where do these guys
We need to rein these guys in. This is getting out of control.
Yeah, it's really, really, really weird. Okay, for years, the sinister role the CIA had in overthrowing democratically elected prime minister of Iran was hidden until 2013 trove of classified documents was released. The Iranian coup of 1953 goes down as a stain on the history of the Middle East and still shapes politics in the regions today. Yes, it does. Mm-hmm. It saw a democratically elected prime minister overthrown and the autocratic Shah instated, all with the support of the U.S. and Britain.
No.
Britain? It led to 26 more years of despotic rule before the Iranian Revolution brought the theocratic rule of the mullahs and the regime in place today, and it all started with a trick. One ally manipulating the other. Speaking to the Mirror, Gordon Carrera, the BBC's security correspondent, explained that's the part of the intelligence game, even with allies. There's an element of manipulation and playing each other, even when you're on the same side. I can absolutely confirm that, although I can't state sources, times, or details. The reason that I'm going through this, even though this happened in 1953, is this was the beginning, I believe, of what we're seeing now with the Trump administration. The deviousness and the treachery goes back this far, if not further.
It goes back farther, man.
So Carrera teams up with David McCloskey, a former CIA analyst and spy novelist, in their new podcast, The Rest is Classified. In the first episode, the two experts discuss the secret history behind the coup. I got to check this out. A podcast called The Rest is Classified, and reveal how the CIA and MI6 collaborated in Operation Ajax to overthrow Iran's elected leader, driven by a power struggle over oil and Cold War politics. You guys had cooler code names. We had like Mongoose and Kneecap. After the end of World War II, the Middle East was in turmoil. Fragile governments hung on to power as the world tried to get the vast seas of oil waiting to be extracted. Often the oil was exploited by foreign companies, and in Iran, this was the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, the massive oil company owned part by the British government. Big shock, they were all over that entire area. After years of mistreatment, broken promises, and Iran getting a small fraction of the wealth being made, the people of Iran were furious. Big shock. Change came when Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, who had vowed to nationalize the oil fields, won a sweeping victory in the 51 elections. British weren't going to give up this important asset, but times had changed. The sun was setting on the British Empire, and it didn't have the power that it once had, so the Brits went to get help from their allies, us.
Yeah. I mean,
Christians and
ally,
yeah,
because we're the ones that always pay for everything.
right. But to get that to work, the British intelligence services had to convince Christians in action that it was in their best interest. At the time, with the Cold War raging, this was by making the whole thing communism. Carrera continued, this was the Brits thinking, we want to overthrow a government partly because they nationalized the British oil company, but we don't have the resources or the access, but our friends, the Americans, do. There was an element of manipulation of the Brits going, how are you going to get the Americans on board? And the answer is they're really obsessed with the Cold War. Let's frame it in the context of the Cold War. This is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. This happens all the time. I saw it in multiple countries. In 2013, the U.S. government formally admitted their role in the coup. Released documents revealed the CIA operation included false flag attacks. Where have we heard false flag attacks before?
I don't know.
Paying mobsters to stage protests. The bribing of Iranian politicians and army officials, as well as pro-coup propaganda. Gosh, this all sounds like a playbook we've seen recently. I don't know. Puzzled. Do you have any input here? Because I am puzzled. I have never seen a playbook like this since
it's the same
year. Or it's exactly the same playbook.
Like, literally, it's the same script writers for Star Wars that does all of this plotting for the CIA.
Yes.
It's literally the same plot line. Just change the names and locations, but it's the same fucking shit.
Yeah. The Shah's regime held for another 26 years before being, excuse me, stupid husky. My dog made me go for a 2-mile run at 11:30 last night. The Shah's regime held 26 years before being overthrown. Despite the success of the CIA's initial operation, there isn't some kind of playbook operatives were using back then. Bullshit. Bullshit. David McCloskey told the Mirror, there's no actual playbook the CIA uses. Also bullshit. If the president decides that it is in the best interest...
Stop right there. How can they say that there's no playbook when it's the same fucking thing? Are you fucking kidding me?
Because there's no such thing as the CIA or the NSA, and there's no Delta Force either, or you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, they call it CAG now, but yes, they exist.
Yeah. What I'm getting at is they say these things don't exist all the time, and they expect people to just fucking believe it.
They can smurf my goddamn balls. It's the same fucking playbook. I swear there's like 3 or 4 plot lines that the Christians in action use.
Yeah.
And you see it over. I saw it in South America. Yeah, I see it in Africa. It's taking place in the Middle East.
Same exact playbook.
It's like 4 or 5 different plays. It's like a high school football team. That's all they know. I don't know.
Yeah. The assassination, the stolen election, the quiet coup, the public uprising. I'm trying to think if there are any others. Those are their 4 standard ones that they use all the time.
Yeah. It's kind of like the special forces. You have the guerrilla warfare, you have FID, and there's like 2 other ones in there that escaped me. It's been decades, but yeah. I mean, there's only 4 or 5.
That's what you guys did, though.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the CIA who does those things saying they don't have a playbook, which is ridiculous. There's absolutely no way that they don't have a playbook.
Yeah, they can go to hell.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can get in here into the account options on Rumble and see if I can get to those super chats.
Yep. Actually, shout out to Crusader Nate, the the moderator there in the chat. He's got me DM'd on me in Gilded. He's got me caught up on those, so we should be good. Hopefully, we didn't miss him.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thank God.
So shout out to Crusader Nate.
Good.
Listen, man, you guys, make and break this show, bro. You really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We really appreciate all the stuff you do in the background. Let's see here. Where were we? There's no actual playbook that Christians in Action uses. Is the president decides it's to the best interest in the United States to work against the stability of a foreign government in some form or fashion. It's the poor CIA people that have to support that. Bullshit. State Department does this stuff all the time. It's going to be very different. For example, are we talking about trying to train and fund an insurgency in Syria, or are we trying to cut off Kim Jong-un's ability to raise hard currency via his spy services? That's what I did.
Oh, and also every embassy in every foreign country we have has a liaison for the CIA in there.
Yes. Well, there's more than that, but you are correct. Yes. You're absolutely 110% correct. There are so many North Korean stories I wish I could fucking tell.
Yeah. Don't do it.
Those I'm not going to do that. Federal Orange makes my ass look fat, and I'm allergic to prison loaf.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot of really cool stories that I wish I could tell. When I'm like 90 and laying in bed dying, I'm just going to sit down and write them all down or record them or something. Because who cares? Anyway, these are efforts that both governments would see as highly provocative and destabilizing. And yet we're not going to approach them. We're not going to approach them with a very different set of tools. Despite the daring stories of CIA muscle toppling governments, intelligence is the agency's key focus. CIA itself does not use a lot of muscle. They get other people. Their whole operation is to get people from that country to turn on their own people.
And then we turn our backs on them and they get executed.
Yes, that's the entire shtick, is they flip people. But their intelligence, they do a lot of that. The CIA are spending most of their time trying to go out and steal secrets. It's about an information advantage. It's not about the conduct of policy in a covert way. That's 110% correct.
Yep.
It's just another case of the State Department doing what the State Department does. And
I don't know.
It's baffling to me, man.
Well, here's the thing. There should not be levels of security that our own president doesn't know about. That's why he's elected. Unfortunately, we have all kinds of black budget operations going on that somewhere along the way, they're like, the president doesn't need to know this. That needs to change. Because I want to know where all of these missing trillions of dollars have gone over the past 20, 30 years.
I can account for 20 days of some of that, and it involved wearing Hawaiian shirts on an island somewhere in Southeast Asia. So,
I'm just saying. I mean,
the
Pentagon, the DOD hasn't passed an audit since what, 2000?
Nope.
And yet we have more generals on staff than we did during World War II. You figure if you can't pass a fucking audit, you might want to fire some of these guys.
Yeah. Just maybe.
I mean, God damn it. I mean, that is insane.
Yeah, it is.
I'm getting worked up. I can feel it.
I understand. No, I understand. I guess there's a bunch of stuff that freaking, I wish we could sit here and really discuss some of the other fucking details of the shit that goes down.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is, a lot of that money gets spent, I guess you could call it, on the fly. It gets spent on the fly. We'll be in the middle of something and like a side quest will happen, a side mission.
Uh-huh.
And
don't they build that into the budget?
Sort of.
I believe they're referred to as swamp funds.
I don't know what they call them. I just know that we would get these, a mission would turn into something else, and we would have to go do that something else. And sometimes it was expensive, but we never had a problem with that. We would just reach back to whoever was running that particular item, and they'd go, okay, and the funds would just happen.
Did you ever get that? Like, what is it? When's the fiscal year in the Army? Is that October?
I think it's October. Yeah.
I remember in August, like, I got to spend all this money. And I'm trying to send people to schools, and because they set aside the swamp fund.
Yeah.
Because we were deploying people all the time, and you don't want to be that guy who runs out of money and then like, well, didn't you plan for this? So we would overestimate, and we'd have a swamp fund. So if we got like, hey, we need to say 6 people to North Africa, okay,
right.
You put the money into the ATARs, generate orders, get their tickets, get any missing gear and stuff like that. But every once in a while, you get stuck with money at the end, and they're like, you need to spend it right now. And you're like, what the fuck? Okay. Yeah.
We would go to a range and just burn through an inordinate amount of ammo every once in a while. Just, what are you doing out here? Just budgets. We're out here for budgets.
Budget ammo. This is budget ammo.
This is budget ammo. And we had a really good logistics guy named Herb. We had a hard site that was a fallback in Korea. And he had some money that he had to use. And then we all went down there for an exercise one day. And the latrines in the buildings all of a sudden had brass faucets and green marble countertops and shit. And we're like, well, thanks, Herb. This is really nice. It's like this army hard site with a bunker in the ground built into the side of a fucking mountain. And you go down this huge ramp that you could drive vehicles down like 3 stories down to get to the door of the skiff. And then you got to go down a bunch of more stairs. But on the surface, we had some buildings that were basically our barracks that we would stay in during the exercises. And one of them was the fucking shitters and showers. And we went down there. We went down there for our freaking exercise, and we go, everybody, get off the trucks and go into the latrines and everything. Go, whoa, this is really nice. Brass fittings and marble countertops. And Herb's like, I had to get rid of some money.
Yeah.
And the colonel's like, oh, okay, that's fine. I understand.
That's the way it goes, man.
It was funny as hell. And we were the only ones who used the site, so nobody knew.
And here's the funny part about the budget. If you don't spend all the money, you are wrong.
Yeah.
You have to burn through it all. You don't want to send any of it back because you'll get yelled at for that.
Yeah. And your budget will get reduced.
Yes.
And then you get yelled at a second time. I
was just an NCO, so that's officer shit. I was the guy that they opened the door at like 5 o'clock on like August 17th. Spend money! You're like, what the fuck? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I can do that. I can make that happen.
But still, $1 trillion, that's a lot of marble countertops.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the meat caser box.